Life happens. Ups and downs, valleys and mountaintops. Tragedy, joy, loss, hope. One thing to remember, whether good or bad, is that things can change. Imagine perfect bill of health. You're athletic, you eat a healthy diet, and one day you're running errands and you just start to feel lightheaded. And boops, you black out. And you wake up to spending the next few months in a hospital bed. Welcome, Sam. Welcome, Neka. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. How are you?
Oh, we're great.
Good. Fantastic. This story is not a hypothetical situation. This is a real story. Mm-hmm. He's part of the family. And he went through this. And just before having this happen to him, he just did his big checkup, the executive profile. And so, yeah, you're fine. Mm-hmm. How often does this happen? How often do you come across these situations in your line of work? Let's start with Neka.
Hi, I come across it, I wouldn't say quite often, but it happens. I actually have two stories I can share with you of, before I even get to that, men in general believe that they're invincible.
Oh yes, Superman, of course.
Right, they're superhuman, nothing can happen to them, right? And the reality is, it doesn't matter who you are, your status, your age, critical illness, things like this can affect us all. Yeah. The modern lifestyle that we live, the food we eat, no matter how healthy you feel, it has made us susceptible to these kind of illnesses, right? I met with a young guy. He's a policeman, right? Very healthy.
You mean, we look very healthy.
He felt very healthy, invincible. Same, right? So I met with him to try and convince him of the importance of getting some sort of critical illness coverage, right? Because no one knows what can happen. So you have to protect yourself and your finances. To him, because he's young, age 29, he's active, he's a policeman. He plays football every weekend. Nothing can happen to him.
Of course
so he's
not.
fine. So after me just trying to convince him, and I think the only reason why he got the coverage was because of how persistent I was.
Yeah.
Right? So he decided to take out the coverage.
Yeah. Forget rid of you.
Basically. He suffered a stroke at age 29. At age 29, he got out of the bed and just fell to the ground.
Oh my gosh.
Right? Fortunately for his case, he was able to recover within a couple of months, right? He was a police officer working on the road. They had to take him off the road and give him an office desk job, right? In other cases or situation you have where people, they get a stroke and it takes 2 years to recover, or you don't recover, you become disabled, right? There's no recovery for you. And in his case, he was able to recover, go back to work. Now he's a driver and he got money because he had the critical illness coverage to help him, and not just to help him to cover some of his medical expenses, but he was in crazy debt. It helped him to clear off the debt as well.
Look at that.
Right? You can get a stroke and be done for 2 years. What will be there to replace your income? And that's just the importance of having some sort of protection or an income replacement.
Whew.
The next story, another young guy, he was diagnosed with leukemia, and it's the same story when I met with him. He's young, he's healthy, he doesn't need anything. He was adamant that he's healthy and nothing can go wrong with him, right? Just like the story before, I convinced him to take out the coverage because I was very persistent. And I think he liked the fact that the plan had an investment component and it gave back some sort of a cash value. It's an equity-linked plan. So it allows you to grow wealth over time.
It accumulates cash value.
It accumulates a cash value. So if nothing happens to you,
you get back that money.
Get back something.
It's
your cash. So you're building wealth for the future while you're protecting yourself at the same
So
time.
if nothing happens, it's not like all of that money goes.
There's something to look forward to in the future.
Okay.
Right? So he liked that component of it.
Which young people would do.
Which young people, right? So he said, you know what? Nothing not going to happen to me. And I said, yes, exactly. Nothing
Save
will happen
it.
to you, but then you have something to look forward to. Let's say nothing will happen to you, but at
Right.
least you have something to look forward to. And with that, he said, okay, I'll take out the coverage. He was diagnosed with leukemia. He got paid out millions of dollars to assist him. And when a critical illness plan pays out money, this is a lump sum you get that you can use not just for your medical expenses, but your living expenses. He went abroad to get the best treatment possible because he could afford it, right? He stayed 1 year in the hospital, called me a
1
year
year.
after 1 year, which means he wasn't working. Imagine if he had a
no
child.
income, and
No
you have
income.
a year of hospital bills, and the other bills don't stop.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Regular financial obligations.
So he was able to clear all of that, 1 year in the hospital, and called me after that and said, Nika, you know, I'm out of the hospital, but I'm going to take another year off to build back my immune
recuperate.
system.
Wow.
He was able to do that because he had the money when he needed it.
Right.
He's back now in Jamaica. I'm so happy. He's back now in Jamaica, working cancer-free.
Oh, wow. Well, that is a good story. But, you know, not everybody is as lucky. Not everybody is as
No.
smart. Not everybody remembers or realizes the importance of it when it's supposed to happen. And there are some negative stories.
Right.
We say it's the men, but it's not just the men that these things happen to. San, you recently had your own big boom moment.
I did. I promise not to cry. But
No, girl. If you feel it, just go with it.
That's fine. I've actually had a prospect that was referred to me by a client, her best friend actually. And I sat with her speaking about the entire portfolio review and ensuring that she has a proper plan in place for herself. As usual, when we sit with young persons, they say, you know, I'm not ill. I don't need a critical illness coverage.
We're good.
I have time for that.
We're good.
Are you sure though?
Yeah.
Are you sure? The thing about it is that we tend, as millennials, we tend to think about investments, what we can get now. It so happened that I introduced her to a wealth advisor, and she did an investment plan instead. And
Instead of taking the
Right.
critical illness protection, she went with investment.
of course, I'm not going to force you to take up something that you don't find valuable.
Right.
So in a case like that, I let it slide. A few months later, my client called me and asked, did you give her the plan? And I said, no, I didn't. She said, son, why didn't you give her the plan?
Because she didn't want it.
I said, because when I spoke to her, she did not want it. I cannot force somebody to take up something that they don't want. She was diagnosed with a rare kind of cancer.
Life can happen. at
Life
any
happens.
moment.
And I would say this to say, you know, I was invited to a health fair and they were having eye screening, of course, thinking that everything is fine. I was like, let me go screen my eye.
Take the free checkup.
It's free, so nothing can happen. When I was pregnant, I had an issue with seeing at nights. So you know, night vision is a regular thing. But for some strange reason, my night vision that particular time, it was not good. It was not as before. Anyway, I checked my eyes, and whilst having a conversation with a gentleman, and he took a picture of my eye, I found out that I have an issue with my left eye. So as we talk about life happens, in a situation like that, you don't want to know that you don't know how much time you have. I said this to say, it can happen to any one of us. Oh God. Yeah, I'm saying this to say it can happen to any one of us, because the truth of the matter is we take the time I preach it.
Yeah.
Look after yourself. So I'll check up on myself, but the one thing that I did not check up on is the one thing that's
The problem came.
right. And this happens daily. We see it daily.
Yeah.
Because of course, I recognize the migraines and stuff, but I just thought I just needed rest. That's literally it. And the one thing that I should have said, you know, take this as a signal, go and check your eyes.
Yeah.
it was something that it shocked me because I too have responsibilities.
Yeah.
Right? I have a son that is 3. Imagine not being able to see him, not being able to look at him. You get me? And you put in all this work now and explain to persons anything can happen. I shared with Nicole, you know, we have a saying that sometimes we don't realize how strong it is, and that little saying, this too shall pass. Whether it's good times, whether it's bad times, life happens. So we just want to ensure that everyone understands what we do and why we do it. We have a responsibility to ourselves, to our family, to our community. So it's one thing that I'm extremely passionate about, especially when we speak to millennials, because invincibility is just a myth.
All right, let's talk about some numbers, because a lot of us believe that when we don't have enough money to contribute to this, we have to spend the money on what we need to do now.
No.
It's about buying the food now. It's about buying the transportation, whether it's gas or bus fare, whatever it is, about doing what we have to do now. So we don't think about how much money we can. So most of us think we can't afford it. That's usually what it boils down to. Yes, Neka, go ahead. I see you like you're ready to start preaching. But most of us think we can't afford it.
Critical illness is affordable, right? You can pay as low as $50 a day, a patty a day, in order to get critical illness
And
coverage.
these days, the party, they're expensive.
Patty is expensive compared to
But
$50.
yes, a party a day.
But what determines the cost or how much you pay is, one, your age. So the younger you are, the cheaper it is. Your health. Obviously, if you're more risky to insure, you'd pay more. And then next is the amount of coverage you need. You get me? The number one cause of bankruptcy in the world, medical expenses.
For the average man, for the taxi man, for somebody who get paid helter skelter for a nail tech, for a hairdresser, it's kind of weird when we think about, all right, so all I can give you is $1,000. How much access do I have with my $1,000? How much money can I have access to? Like, if I say, all right, this is what I can pay. Do I have access to $1 million, to $10 million? How does that work?
Well, as Nika said earlier, it's based upon your age. It's based upon your age and your bill of health. And then how much coverage that you can afford.
All right, so say I can give you $3,000 a month. That's all I can
And
scrape
your
up to
age,
give you
give her
$3,000
an
a
idea
month.
of-
And I'm 29.
For critical illness
You
or
can
life.
get like life you
life
can
you
probably
would
get to $8 to $10
million
for $3,000. $10 million.
So you're saying with my 3,000 little bit of chups money, if something happened to me, I can have access
Millions
to
of dollars
$10
left back for your child or your family.
million.
You want to understand that you're paying cents for dollars. So
I
when
like
you
that.
really look at it, if you really consider the value of money, then you should consider how long would you take to save up $10 million
yeah.
using
Lifetime.
$3,000.
That could work.
A life.
When
And,
there's a-
and this cash is accessible to you immediately. So you just created an estate for your family.
Right.
And when I say estate, meaning you're leaving back a legacy. And even not a legacy, we keep counting out the persons around us. Because you see, when you have an illness, it just does not affect you alone. It affects your family.
Everyone
It affects
around
your
you.
friends. Right?
People that love
So
you, who wants to look out for you.
anyone that looks out for you, it affects them. So we normally think, oh man, if I have an illness, I just let it go. That's to me a very selfish way of thinking,
It is.
because one person might take it harder than the next.
Yeah.
To watch and sit and look at somebody deteriorating, I can tell you personally, it's not the easiest thing. For me, it's more personal when I sit and talk to somebody, when you sit and talk to a father and say, what is there for your kids? What have you put aside for your kids? Trust me, every parent love their children. Every parent love their children.
Do anything
But how
for
much
them.
do you love that child? If you were to pass away tomorrow, what letter would you give to that child? What would that letter say to them? I don't want to cry no more, you know.
I feel you. I feel you, Mama. It's kind of crazy when we think about the realism of life. The fact that them say lightning don't strike same place twice, but it's not true. Because you can be ill now and be ill next week. And say you had a lot of money and you get ill now and you use all that money. What happens when you get ill the next time? And it's not
That's an even worse situation.
I know.
But then to have to work so hard to provide for yourself and your family, to just know that everything would just go snap of a finger, it's gone. All your assets, you've depleted all your savings just because you didn't put something in place to protect you.
So when we're talking about critical care, we're not just talking about protecting our immediate self and our health. We're talking about protecting our money,
Right.
protecting the little savings where you put
You
down.
need an income replacement.
You can look at it this way. If you're earning, let's start with $1 million. You're earning $1 million a year. It means that $1 million is what takes you through the year, or somewhat takes you through the year. Because a lot of times we're short. All right. So we're saying $1 million takes you through the year.
Yeah.
Why would you insure yourself for $1 million then?
That's
When
what
you know
If
there's
you
only
understand.
1 year, it can take care of you if
So
something happens.
when
or
you're
not even the
when you're
year.
insuring yourself, whatever insurance it is combined together, you want to ensure that it sets you for an extended period of time. Nika said earlier that her client had to take a year off,
Two
two
years.
years off. Plus, remember, he still has financial obligations.
Right.
His regular financial obligations. Then his medical expenses. Then if anything else might miscellaneously
Yeah,
come
because
up.
guess what?
life happens.
Care always have problem, you know. So you're gonna need that money. You have to have a little savings. You have to have if something go wrong. Suppose something go wrong with your child. Suppose something go wrong with your mother. Suppose it's always just this big unknown.
What you want to know is that if anything is to happen to you, is you have cash in hand. So we're not just talking about protecting low income or high income. It's protecting everyone in general. Everybody needs protection. When rainfall is, everybody fall upon.
And my thing is, why use your money when you can use Sagicors money?
See there, that way, you know.
No, seriously, you already build your wealth, your empire. If something happens, but as you say, you're paying cents for dollars, so you're barely paying anything to ensure that if something happens, millions comes in to help you. Why sell your assets? Why sell your stocks? Why not use Sagicors money? We're providing it for you.
I think that was my line for today. Why not use your money instead of using my money? Definitely. And I think basically one of the things that I think, the biggest thing that we want to get out to people, we want people to understand, is that nobody is safe from life.
None at all.
Not a soul. Like you take liberty with your life when you walk up and down and you have no insurance. Literally, I say, cha, me not that important.
So you're building this wealth, you're building your income, you're setting yourself for life. And just because you're setting yourself, you're not putting the proper foundation. When you look at a financial pyramid, the protection is the first thing. You
Risk
protect who
management.
you love, what you own, who you owe, all of that. You're protecting yourself.
Yeah.
So if you can buy car insurance, you can buy peril
at
insurance. What about you?
I
Aren't you that
even thought of that.
Good point.
If you can buy insurance with a piece of metal where you drive up in that every day,
Every
why
day.
you're not supposed to cover yourself?
So are you saying that you're not an important?
No.
So are you not that important? Tell me. Are
No, me
you really not
important,
that
girl, me
important?
important.
That is, it's the same thing. It's no different.
Wow.
Sense and that.
I
Good point.
never even.
Good
Oh, she
point.
gonna take that. She gonna be like, oh, listen, I got this. But yeah, that's really what it boils down to. The importance of protecting yourself, your investments, your money. Cause guess what? Everybody want to protect their money and protecting who you love.
So I just hope that just sharing whatever we're doing here is really bringing awareness, because I don't think people understand how serious it is.
Yeah.
The last thing you want to think about is where you're getting cash from if you're ill.
When you're ill.
It's the last thing you want to do.
You will walk past 50 million people and they will all be suffering in a way that none of us understand. But nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
So just in case you want to keep your business and you want to cover everything, this is what we tell you to do. Go get some coverage. Thank you, ladies. You guys are amazing. And Sana, you're going to be fine.
Yes.
I know this, you're going to be fine because you covered, girl.
Yeah, thanks.
Are you covered? If you would like someone to reach out to you to help you protect what matters most to you, just visit sagicor.com/life happens. Thank you so much for joining us. And of course, we're going to see you on the next episode of Life Happens. Till then, make sure you take care of yourself, because guess what? Lightning can strike in the same place 2 times. Girls.